popular demand. A Christmas Carol. Yeah, kind of a bonehead move to forget this one, wasn't it? Especially seeing how it's, I don't know, Christmas related and it's December. But to be fair, I kind of forget this one is Disney. I mean, when I think of Disney Christmas Carol, I think of the Mickey Mouse and Scrooge McDuck. This I associate more with Robert Zemeckis and its motion capture. But Disney's name is on the title, so it definitely counts. And as versions of A Christmas Carol hold up, there are some things that are really good, and some things that are not very good. I guess it's kind of pointless going over the story, seeing how there's, two of you who don't know it, but what the hell? I'll be nice. Ebenezer Scrooge is a heartless, cold man who has a real hate for Christmas. He's not very nice to his employee, Bob Cratchit, but all that changes when the apparition of his old partner, Jacob Marley, comes back to life and tells him that he'll be haunted by 3 ghosts. These are the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future, and they do a good job of scaring the shit out of him while also showing what the true meaning of Christmas is. Actually, let me go back and change that. They don't just scare the shit out of him, they really fucking scare the shit out of him. And that's the real irony of this movie. When I went in, I thought it was going to be too lighthearted, like it was going to be too goofy. Jim Carrey as Mr. Scrooge and all the over-the-top CG animation. Especially coming from Disney, I thought this was going to be a real goofball. And don't get me wrong, there's some real stupid goofball moments. Yeah, that added a lot. The rest of the movie is not only dark, though, it's intensely dark. And don't get me wrong, I love dark stuff. That's one of the reasons I love A Christmas Carol. It does have so many dark elements. But good God, there's supposed to be a balance. What made Christmas Carol so great is that it did have a lot of dark elements, but it also had a lot of cheerful elements. It's supposed to make you realize the wonder and enjoyment of Christmas. You go to the dark stuff so that when you come back to the light stuff, you can appreciate it all the more. This movie likes the dark stuff way too much. Take the scene where the ghost of Christmas present is supposed to be fading away. Now, this is usually a very sad, quiet, mysterious scene as we say goodbye to one of our favorite characters. But here... Fuck! There's quite a few scenes like this that go so over-the-top dark that it's almost comical. However, the appropriate dark scenes that are supposed to be disturbing are done pretty well too, but we'll get to that in a moment. How's the acting in the movie? Particularly Jim Carrey as Ebenezer Scrooge. You know, sadly, Jim Carrey is one of those people where every single time you see him, you know he's trying his hardest. You know he's acting his heart out. You know every single moment he's on screen, he's thinking to himself, what is the best thing he can do to give a good performance? And I give so much credit to him for that, but God, every single time I see him, I just see Jim Carrey. I almost never see an actual character there. I just see Jim Carrey trying to portray that character. I have the same problem with Leonardo DiCaprio or Tom Cruise. I can just never see past the fact that it's Leonardo DiCaprio or Tom Cruise. To his credit, though, it's not quite as bad as you may think it is. His voice is very distinct and very clear. It's nice to listen to. His over-the-top moments are much more restrained, despite an obvious over-the-top design. And I think he can get across the serious moments okay. That is, okay, let me put it this way. I've seen a lot more Ebenezer Scrooges that were more over-the-top than this. Have you seen Albert Finney's version lately?
Let me assure you that I am a man of the highest principles and the most generous spirit.
Yeah. Where he really doesn't succeed, though, is playing the other ghosts. Now, don't get me wrong. The idea of having the actor who plays Scrooge play the other ghosts, I actually think is kind of clever. Like they're all sort of representations of him or variations. And when they quote his own lines back to him, it's all the more effective.
If he is to die, he had better
do it and decrease the surplus population.
I think that's actually kind of a cool idea. But yeah, they're pretty awkward. With the exception of the Ghost of Christmas Future, who's kept in shadow, so really anybody could play him. The Ghost of Christmas Past has a great design, but just sort of a weird Irish accent and a weird way of breathing and talking, and it's just odd.
A solitary child, neglected by his friends, he is left here still.
And the Ghost of Christmas Present laughs way too damn much. And it's sort of that weird Jim Carrey laugh where he's kind of playing to the camera. And yeah, it's pretty annoying. So that's one thing to have the actor who plays Scrooge also play the ghost, but why is it a lot of the actors in the other parts are playing other roles? I mean, okay, Gary Oldman and Colin Firth, I mean, they can hide their voices a little bit, but I hear Bob Hoskins' voice like 6 or 7 times in this thing, and that is one of the most distinct voices on the planet. He's a great actor, one of my favorites, but when you're trying to put him in an animated film and trying to pawn off that these are different people when clearly it's always Bob Hoskins, it's really distracting. How about the motion capture? People always have a real love or hate feeling towards this because a lot of times they feel like, well, they feel it's great for the actors because the actors can actually emote and it's their performance. And it works much better blending them into the CG environment because they're already CG themselves. However, a lot of people feel that's a problem because that takes the performance away from the animator. So now the animator can't emote unless he just wants to stick to the performance that, well, the actor is giving. And it definitely looks weird when you have some scenes of people that look really realistic, but then other scenes like this that are so distinctly cartoony and really sort of ruin the tone. They just don't match up. I guess I'm sort of half and half, but yeah, I guess I do sort of prefer it either being more the actor or more the animator. So maybe it's best this sort of face sensor technology isn't being done anymore, but who knows, maybe somebody can take it to a new dimension. I'm open to it. So for a die-hard Christmas Carol fan like myself, is there nothing worth recommending in this film? Actually, not only do I think there is some really good stuff in this film, but I think it's some of the best I've ever seen in any movie. But like I said, just some certain parts. For example, the way the Ghost of Christmas Present transports Ebenezer is really something to see. I saw this in IMAX and 3D, and this was a really great effect. But it still looks pretty good on TV as well. Even though I said before it is overly dark, when they get it right, they get it pretty right. I mean, I love the atmosphere just building up to the appearance of the first ghost. I love the quiet moments. I love the still moments. The shadow of Christmas Future is literally a shadow. That's a great idea. You almost never see him in 3 dimensions. He's always just up against a wall or against the sheets or... Ugh, it's just a great creepy image. And, in my opinion, it has one of the most effective scenes in any Christmas Carol adaptation. Again, without giving too much away, though I'm sure a lot of you probably know, Ebenezer is responsible for the death of a family member of Bob Cratchit. Scrooge in every version, as a result, has to see what Bob Cratchit is going through after his loss. Cratchit tries to hide his pain from his family, but stops when he gets out of their sight. And since Ebenezer can't be seen, Cratchit doesn't know that he's actually stopping right in front of him, exposing all the raw emotional pain that he's going through right in front of Ebenezer's face. There's nowhere for him to escape. He has to face it head on. That was unbelievable. It's probably the best variation of that moment I've ever seen. Final verdict? If you're sick and tired of A Christmas Carol and everyone doing the adaptations trying to be the one adaptation that everyone wants to see, the most faithful one, blah, 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 this one probably isn't going to sway you. Anyone who's sick of hearing the dialogue word for word from the book over and over is probably not going to be changed by this. However, if you are a big fan of the story like I am, I think you might find 1 or 2 alterations in this that you might actually see as being worth it. Yeah, some parts are stupid, but honestly, going in, they're not as stupid as I thought they were gonna be. I mean, just say it, Jim Carrey in Disney's Christmas Carol. Yeah, this could have been a lot worse. Is it something I would watch every Christmas? Probably not, but then again, I did watch it a couple times after I saw it in the theaters. And I enjoyed admiring the scenes that I admire and... rolling my eyes at the others. So take it for what it's worth. I am glad I saw it. Though I will say, it definitely gives new meaning to the term scare the dickens out of you. Fuck! This episode brought to you by Stamps.com. Why go to the store to get stamps when you can have them printed right at home for your convenience? Also brought to you by DoorDash, the app that brings you food you're craving right now, right to your door.
I'm the nostalgia critic guy, remember it? So you don't have to. I've made no secret that one of my favorite stories of all time is A Christmas Carol. But weirdly, there's not a definitive film version. Everybody has one they like the most, but there's no Judy Garland, Wizard of Oz, or Bela Lugosi, Dracula. That one gold standard that everybody thinks about when you mention it. But make no mistake, everybody has tried. Many of us feel like we can recite these lines in our sleep, we've heard them so many times. For me, the story is so good, I can watch a bad adaptation and still get something out of it. I think the idea is that clever and powerful. And one that sadly gets shit on quite a bit, even if it is a little justifiable, is Robert Zemeckis'. Oh, Zemeckis. The 2000s are doing you hard, aren't they? With his over-reliance on CG effects to a point where he created a motion capture studio thinking this was the future of film. You can't blame him for being excited about what he thought was a new way of storytelling. But while 3D animation has found a groove that audiences like, while still leaving room to experiment that artists like, Zemeckis kept his one style that was becoming very dated very fast. Christmas Carol was the last of these films he directed, and everybody was ready to hate it. It looked like every other Christmas Carol that had been done before it, just with Beowulf graffitied all over it. With Jim Carrey in the lead role, the advertising was trying to be as over-the-top and literally in your face as it could be.
The ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future.
And while yes, there are some moments like that, the film does actually have some subtleties, clever ideas, and even a few of my favorite moments in any Christmas Carol. In fact, the surprising problem wasn't how goofy and lighthearted it was, but rather how relentlessly dark it was. Almost like Zemeckis knew people thought it was going to be silly, so he borrowed a few pages from Hellraiser's script. I, of course, love a dark as hell Christmas Carol, but it needs to balance out and actually have me appreciate, you know, Christmas. While it's very clear and balanced mucks that up, along with some other seemingly obvious problems, I will admit, I do kind of have a soft spot for it. That's the word. Yeah, sure, we'll go with that. It doesn't all work in the end, but the scenes that do, I think, are worth checking out for any Christmas Carol stan like myself. So, let's take a closer look. This is Robert Zemeckis' 2009's Robert Zemeckis' A Christmas Carol. Well, the film wants to throw you in hell right away. This opening of Marley dead and this creepy as shit Undertaker asking for a tip is enough to make anyone say la 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 la. And knowing some of the awkward animation in this, maybe he was supposed to look cute, I don't know. Making up the debt by taking the coins off Marley's eyes is a nice twisted touch, as the film almost says, alright, Christmas, we gotta work in some of that imagery here before we focus on an environment on par with a dirty coffin.
Merry Christmas, Uncle. Humbug.
Years pass and we see Scrooge, played like I said before by Jim Carrey, talking to his nephew Fred, played by Colin Firth.
What reason have you to be merry? You're poor enough.
What right have you to be so dismal? You're rich enough.
So Carrey is alright as Scrooge. For as cartoony as both his design and the advertising was, I like he is nowhere near the most over-the-top Scrooge I've seen. Finney, Grammer, even sometimes Kane I associate as being more over-the-top than Carrey. He's actually much more reserved than you would imagine in this role. Okay, I'm not gonna say subtle, but for all the flashy camera work and whooshing through whatever to show off, these opening scenes can just rely on the acting alone.
I were to dock you £0.50 for it, you'd think yourself ill-used. Yet you don't think me ill-used when I pay a day's wages for no work.
The issue is, Carrey is surrounded by actors who would make a much better Scrooge. Colin Firth, Gary Oldman, even Bob Hoskins. Oh my god, imagine Bob Hoskins as Scrooge. Okay, he's not the right age or weight, but now they'll do what they did with Carrey with him. Change the image. Isn't that the whole idea of this animation? Because when these guys are acting, they're doing just that, acting. Carrey has to act, do an old man voice, and a British accent. Which again is okay, but it's just another filter he has to work through, on top of this half-real, half-not animation filter. Again, he's really not bad, but it is distracting when his entire supporting cast is much easier to find believable.
Good afternoon.
I want nothing from you. I ask nothing of you. Why can't we be friends?
Good afternoon.
Truth be told, I would have thought he'd be a better Bob Cratchit. I also think he could have knocked that role out of the park. Just imagine the Majestic, but not painfully trying for an Oscar.
Don't be cross, Uncle.
What else can I be when I live in such a world of fools as this?
And yeah, I've talked about rotoscope and motion capture animation a lot in this series. It's honestly hard to remember what I've said without repeating myself. All I'll say this time around is I think it looks better when it's hand-drawn. Because that's taking the complexities of human movement and reducing it down to a line. How much of a human being can you capture with something as simple as a drawn line? It's interesting to experiment with and look at. This is trying to take all the complex movement, lighting, and textures of real life and make it look like the complex movement, lighting, and textures of real life. I don't know, I think I would have liked it better if they did it more like a painting. That would have been something a lot newer and challenged the eye much more. As is, it's basically Polar Express remastered. You can hear my pros and cons on that in the other review.
Be here all the earlier the next morning.
So, okay, you know the drill. Scrooge gives Bob Cratchit, played by Gary Oldman, the day off, which causes him to celebrate in this strange way. Did you like the way they animated the face of one of Shrek's babies onto him?
Why does everything seem to happen to me?
Scrooge sees the face of Marley on his door, and again, give the film credit, it really does take time to build up the suspense. Maybe a little too long.
Must go faster.
Yeah, maybe if this wasn't the most popular thing ever written, I'd be more on the edge of my seat, but I think most people know what's coming.
It's all still a half.
Jacob Marley enters the room, also played by Gary Oldman. And yeah, I'll just say it, I really don't think this scene works. I don't feel a connection between him and Scrooge like they were old business partners. He's not really scary because of scenes of him spitting and whatever the hell this is. He just took one of the film's most famous lines and turned it into a silly side joke. And the laughs just keep on coming. The definitive version, everybody. Jesus, Goofy had more class.
What do you want with me?
The only thing I was kind of digging was he didn't look at him at first, which gave an otherworldly feel that was kind of creative and welcomingly uncomfortable. But then he looks right at him the rest of the time, so I guess that's ruined. Can you see him or not? Carrie gets a cute laugh here and there.
You will be haunted by 3 spins. I'd rather not.
How they legit make these other ghosts outside pretty unsettling. They legit gotta jump out at me in the theater. But we get back to our Uncanny Valley Museum pretty fast when Carrie plays the ghost of Christmas Past.
A solitary child, neglected by his friends.
Okay, good things first. This design is unique. Literally making him a candle is crazy clever. Carrie playing all the ghosts, I also think is really smart. They reflect different time periods of Scrooge, so making them look like Scrooge does actually match up. Why other actors play other roles, I have no clue, but I thought this was a good choice. The execution, though, good God.
Would you so soon put out with your worldly hands the light
Of hell? He sounds like asthmatic Lucky Charms, looks like Hades let his hair grow too long, and does a dance. I have no idea why, they just take time to show he can still do a dance. Turn to the left, turn to the right. 4 clicks this time.
There, but a touch of my hand there.
If you get an erection that lasts more than 4 hours, you're welcome.
Takes him back to when he was a little boy, and yes, when this movie wants to look beautiful, it can be exactly that. Just ignore American Psycho as the flame from Animaniacs, that's quite pretty.
Let's go on.
One of the best moments in any Christmas Carol for me, I love him alone in this classroom singing. The animation, the camera work, the lighting, all of it's both really soothing and kind of unsettling. I think it's one of the few moments where the Uncanny Valley actually adds to the uncomfortable feel. Also gotta say, even though I'd love to see him as Scrooge, Hoskins practically seems born to play Fezziwig.
Tonight! It's Christmas Eve!
He hasn't been been this happy since he heard Mario Brothers wasn't getting a sequel. But I'm sorry, what the hell's going on here? Were they like, well, Mr. Toad played him in the other Disney version, so let's have him hop around like a frog freshly castrated? What are the rules of this world? He meets up with... I just realized I don't think they ever give her a name in this version. And even though the romance between them is usually rushed in the story, this one still flies by too quick. Again, even Daisy at least gets a line in the Mickey one. Which, wait, man, just realized she's gonna date his nephew after him? Damn, bitch, that's vengeance.
Another idol has replaced me.
It does lead to this nice touch with the candle I'll admit I missed before, and arguably my favorite over-the-top Scrooge read. Carrie's been okay as Scrooge, but something about the way he says this line just cracks me up.
When it was made, you were another man.
I was a
Whoa! I was a boy! Maybe in rehearsals that sounded chilling, but in the film, it sounds like Count Olaf showing off for his acting troupe.
I was a
Whoa! Imagine my surprise! Scrooge sees all the faces of his past in the ghost, which I think works better written than visually. And he tries putting him out with his cap, but gets launched into the air. A little silly, but again, compared to the advertising where he shouts, Humbug! I can't say it's that bad. Ooh, I had a dream. I ruined 2 Christmas classics. Nope, just one. And 6 days a week. Hope to see you there. Scrooge is approached by the ghost of Christmas Present, who's pretty much fat bastard and Jesus on nitrous oxide. I didn't think I could be out-weirded by Lumiere's equivalent of Freddy Krueger, but this half-baked and living color character sure is coming close. Oh. Can I go now? Okay, yes, his acting is really awkward here, but there are some legit great moments. Firstly, the way they travel is extremely unique. They stay in the house, and it appears to fly while they look down through the floor. That doesn't sound like that would work, but the camera movement, the animation, and even the music really make it a one-of-a-kind experience. Another one of my favorite all-time Christmas Carol moments was experiencing this in IMAX and 3D. I'm really not kidding when I say it looked phenomenal. If they ever re-released it that way again, I'd see it opening night. The moment really was that good. When it's a dramatic moment, Carrie does this character okay.
Their deeds of ill will and selfishness at our age. Charge their doings to them, not us.
And again, I love feeding into the idea that these ghosts are kind of versions of him when he literally turns into him saying his own lines back to him.
If he is to die, he had better
do it and decrease the surplus population.
Everything else is pretty by the numbers. The Cratchits are poor but happy, Tiny Tim looks sickly but hopeful, and everyone at Fred's party makes fun of Scrooge. They're not bad scenes, they're just what we've seen in a million other versions. But here's something new that's pretty insane. The ghost starts to fade and he shows Scrooge the forgotten children of man, ignorance and want. Okay, that's in the original, but it is not in this crazy-ass way.
Prisons.
This is a scene from Krampus, or a horror film parody of A Christmas Carol. Yeah, hey, think I just gave him their next one. Okay, Billy, you can stop hiding under the sea. Christmas Carol can't be scary longer than... What issues are you working through, Zemeckis? Oh, but don't worry. The scary part of the film starts now. Right? Wasn't it so well balanced out? Carrie plays the third ghost as well, which is kind of pointless seeing how he's just a shadow, but whatever, it's not a big deal. But as I know a a lot of critics have pointed out, we get a totally pointless action sequence. He suddenly starts chasing him for a good long while just to show off some flashy effects that now look like a Christmas version of Dead by Daylight. This goes on for 5 minutes, and none of it is needed at all. You literally could cut it and miss nothing. Watch.
The night is waning fast. It's precious time to be lead on, spirit.
Would you even know they left out the essential moment of Scrooge as the ant bully?
Christmas pudding, no doubt.
What was the point of that?
Can you say you took him down while he was lying there?
Luckily, when the story returns, it does get back to form. Much of Christmas futures as you've seen in other versions, but we are given by far the best scene in the entire movie and easily one of the best moments of any Christmas Carol.
Mother, please don't be great.
When it's revealed that Tiny Tim did in fact die, Cratchit tries to keep it together and walks away from his family. He stops right in front of Scrooge, having no idea he's there, and lets out all his unfiltered sadness. Holy shit, is that brilliant! Scrooge has nowhere to turn. He has to look at this raw emotion straight in his eyes. And because Bob has no idea he's there, he's letting out his deepest sorrow for what he thinks is no one to see. Standing ovation, a million chef's kisses. This scene alone justifies this film's existence. The following again is pretty standard. He sees his grave, vows to change, and big scary music plays.
I will have a Christmas in my heart, and try to keep it on the air.
The one thing they do that's kind of fun is the shadow gets more and more three-dimensional as his time nears its end. Like the future is becoming more and more real the longer he keeps things the way they are. Again, there are some clever ideas in this.
Merry Christmas!
Scrooge is returned home, though, and discovers it's Christmas Day. Again, it's all pretty standard, except for the maid thinking he's gone mad. That legit got a good laugh out of me.
Next year we must have this dinner at my house. I insist.
And once more, it'd be so easy for Carrie to go too big here, but he gives the proper amount needed. I buy it.
And Scrooge was better than his word. He did all that he said he would.
Wait, weren't we reading a book? Was Bob Cratchit Charles Dickens the whole time? What are the rules?
As good a man as the good old city ever knew.
I do love that his movement from right to left slowly wipes to the future where we see Scrooge with Tim saying the final line. It's a tiny touch, but I love little moments like that.
God bless us, everyone.
And even though I can't say the big picture works, the little moments do go a long way. This Christmas Carol is sloppily ambitious. Of course, the story is dark, but it focuses way too much on that, giving us little time to appreciate the joyful moments in Lust for Life. Which is ultimately the story's goal. It's not like a grown-up parody like Scrooged or something. It clearly wants to be the best one without understanding what just makes a good one good. But yes, some of the ideas and executions do really work and are incredibly clever and emotional. I'd be lying, though, if I didn't say the majority of the time I wasn't thinking of other versions that handled a lot of these scenes much better. So, yeah, it is a little hard to give a final word on it. If you're sick of the story and seeing it everywhere, I don't think this is gonna win you over. But if you're a die-hard fan like I am, I think you'll appreciate the moments that really do land in it. And, at the very least, be fascinated by the ones that don't. Yes, it's awkward, but if you know the story so well you don't mind sitting through a bit of that, you just might find enough special moments. I'm a nostalgia critic, guy, remember? So you don't have to.
Oh.
It's Cameo for Charity, and this month we're doing Toys for Tots. So if you want a video of me saying Happy Birthday, Merry Christmas, congrats, or whatever, go ahead and click on the link below and know you'll be giving to a good cause. With that said, I usually do Toys for Tots for December, and part of that is because of this funny story that happened when we were shooting the review of Christmas with the Craigs. I share it every year, and this year is going to be no different. Hey everybody, Doug Walker here doing the charity shout-out, and I have a funny story for you. When we were shooting this review, we were outside about to shoot a scene with Nostalgia Critic and Santa Christ, and this car pulls up, and they pull right into our parking spot, and we don't recognize the people, and they get out, and we...
Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.